Hey, everybody, welcome to Pink Shade. Today is Thursday, and that means I'm talking to my friend Kate Casey about Bravo. Kate, I'm so glad you could join me. What a momentous occasion for the first episode of the reunion of Vanderpump Rules.
I know, I know. I've been saying from the beginning, feels like a documentary or docuseries about what happens in the aftermath of a scandal. And now
Mm.
I feel like I'm getting the payoff, you know?
Ah,
Now I'm like, I've been like trying to figure out all along, like what's really happening behind the scenes. And I feel like we're finally going to get to see it. And I have to say, I think I'm most excited for the last episode. I feel like episode 2 of the reunion is gonna be like nothing, but the third one at the end, when they show all of them collectively, the
yeah.
ending, which now we've seen, which is basically the montage, thereby signaling it's probably the end of the show. I want to see their reactions because I think you're going to have the most honest version of themselves. Because I do think Lala's right that a lot of people lived in the comments scene or
Mm-hmm.
comments section of social media. So they were kind of playing to the audience the entire time.
Yeah.
But then with the threat, if not reality, of this show will no longer exist, I think you're going to see some people react like, all right, it is what it is. But I think a lot of people are going to go, you guys are assholes and you blew it for us. You should have stepped up to the plate and now we have no show and we're all shit out of luck.
Interesting. I
You're
don't.
going to see who was really at peace with like the end of the show or not really being on it and those that were trying so hard to make something happen in the show all season.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's the end of the show. I don't.
Oh,
I
I do.
don't. I don't. I don't go for that prediction at all. I don't think that's correct. I don't. I don't. I'm sorry. I'm a believer. I'm a
I'm sorry, but I
dreamer.
think, there's nothing left there. Yeah.
Don't say that to me.
I mean, there's lots
Um,
of other shows and they need to present new shows. Unscripted's been hard. Unscripted too, but like really unscripted has been very hard for a long time because networks were not buying projects and they were just using old IP, like old shows and
yeah,
reinventing them because they were
yeah.
so risk averse because of the money they lost during COVID. And I think that they were hoping that this year would be the year that they recoup their losses. But now they're going to have to start buying projects that are going to start to air towards the end of the year, if not into Q1 of 2025.
Mhm.
And I think that they're going to be more willing than they have in the last couple of years to get rid of shows that are stale and make room for something that's going to be uh, better and bring in more viewers. Because although the scandal was a mainstream story, they're not really bringing in new viewers anytime. Like in the last season, I don't think they brought any new viewers.
I completely disagree with that. I'm sorry. I hate to disagree with you because we are friends, but, I just disagree with that. I think they probably brought in a ton of new viewers because people
Mm-mm.
wanted to see what it was all about, you know?
If they did, it was one episode, and then they trailed off because there was nothing going on all season long.
Right, but that's reality TV for you. I mean, I had Chris DeRosa on this week to talk about 90 Day Happily Ever After, and he was like, "You know, what I forgot about these 90-day shows is literally you have a 2-hour show, and the whole scene for this one couple, they're in the car, or the whole scene, they're still standing in the kitchen talking, like, they never go to another scene." And I was like, "Yeah," I was like, "I never thought about that because, like, on Housewives, what he works on, you do have here's a lunch, here's a dinner, here's somebody selling their skincare line, and then somebody has a fight in
Mhm.
the backyard. There are 12 events in 1 hour.
Well, 2
Whereas
things with
yeah,
that. Number 1,
yeah,
Chris DeRosa thinks it's the end of the show too.
okay.
Okay, and number 2, 90 Day Fiancé is evergreen because you swap out people that we'll never care about. But the problem that Vanderpump faces is that the show's been on way too long and
Mhm,
people are not really invested in the show anymore because none of them kinda get along. Like, they can
mhm.
just follow Ariana's new life wherever she goes, Love Island, Chicago, they'll follow her. It doesn't mean they're gonna watch the show.
Hmm.
They
I don't
like
like
Ariana, and they
yeah,
probably like Katie, and they like a lot of people like Lala, but they'll follow wherever they go.
mhm. Yeah, well, I think that's a lot of people that people like. So I don't know. We'll see, but I'm keeping the faith. I'm
And
keeping the
I
faith.
also think what they could do, which they did to the Shaw's people, which they're God bless, they're coming forward and being a little bit more honest about it, was
Mhm.
when Shaw's was ending, they kinda kept them on a short leash by saying, "Well, we might be back. We're pausing it," in their
Yeah.
own way of saying that, and they were left in the lurch for a long time, and now they're coming forward and they're like, "Yeah, we thought the show was coming back all this time. They kept us on this, like, leash."
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
they could do that, but I mean, there's nothing there. The problem I think is that without Raquel there, you really can't tie the bow up in the story. And I kind of feel like they all were surprised because they were all making different shows.
Mm.
Like Ariana's version of the show that she was filming was you're going to see me go to Dancing with the Stars in Chicago and I like finally got my power and I feel like she was felt even more so betrayed by Tom because they were friends more than like romantic, but like sometimes a friendship betrayal is even worse.
Yeah.
I feel like he kept her captive of her hopes and dreams. It began with that book, the cocktail book, where he
Yeah.
like weaseled his way in.
Yeah. Right.
I think
Right.
he did that all the time. And he was probably always like, I'm the star of the show. You're like supporting character. And this was the first time where she was like, I'm free from this nonsense and I can actually get things on my own. I think that's the show she thought was filming and surprised. She said she didn't watch the show. I'm sure people reported back like, oh yeah, episodes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are all about like you're mad at a party. And she's
Mhm.
probably like, but like I'm doing Chicago and Dancing with the Stars. I think Lala's version of the show was this is my fertility journey and I'm breaking
Mm.
free from this ex. Sheena's was I don't know if I want to have another child, and my husband is actually a great father, even though he has these estranged children. Tom
Mhm.
Sandoval's is like I am breaking free from what people think, and I can finally be the lead singer that I always dreamed of. But then I think that the producers were like, "We're making a different show, which is what happened after the scandal, and like are these people still friends?" So no one
Right.
is in agreement at all, and that's why it feels so disjointed and clunky and weird.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about this reunion then. We start off the reunion with finding out Schwartz and Sandoval are going to live together again. I guess that they are going to pay that crazy mortgage on the farmhouse in the valley that Sandoval lives in, which is wild to me. It's like going to be a $22,000 a month mortgage. Like, can you imagine? Like, that is insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, listen, if it was like the Queen of Versailles house, I'd be like, okay, that's a $22,000 a month mortgage, but or the top of a penthouse in New York City, but not this house, like a little
Mhm.
4-bedroom farmhouse in the valley. No.
I just have concerns over the toilets being cleaned, you know?
Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
like
That too.
it's
That too. And
disgusting.
they're real dirty in that house.
But they're like there's a lot of arrested development there.
Yeah.
Like Tom feels like a low rent version of Matthew McConaughey's character in Dazed and Confused. Like he's hangs out a little too long when he's a little too old,
Hmm.
and Schwartz is just like a goof. Like I'm around for along for the ride. This is cool, but
Yeah.
I feel like the others are like, okay, well, we gotta like somewhat make some plans after this.
Yeah. We're moving on with our lives. Like we're
Yeah.
also 40 years old. So, Sandoval's like, yeah, my dad's in his 60s and he has roommates. And you can
Well, there
see
you
Andy
go.
and Vanderpump going, "Whoa, okay, that's
I
not."
feel like Andy Cohen was really good in this. I thought he was like some of his pointed questions were so veiled in sarcasm.
Yeah.
Like the one he asked Sheena, like he's like, so I've heard of postpartum depression, but I've never heard of postpartum OCD.
Hmm.
Not making fun of that, just making fun of I think the way she delivered that information. He was
Hmm.
like what?
Yeah. I think
Which, by the way, I think the audience, we were like, "Where did that come from?" Like, "What?"
I think it's interesting when it's explained though, right? It's because it's the irrational fear of something happening to your kid, and I think when you think of postpartum depression, like, the intrusive thoughts come in about trying to hurt your child in some way, but
Mhm.
she was explaining that what she had, hers was the opposite, and it was almost like she had intrusive thoughts of something terrible happening to her child, not at her own hand, but just real, like, crazy thoughts about the baby falling out of the bed or
Yeah.
Brock getting killed or, all these things, and so but by the way, she only took medication for it for, like, a month. So,
Well,
I
that's what I'm saying. It's not making fun of the situation of postpartum OC, which I'm sure many people have had. It
yeah.
was the way that it was delivered this season, as I said earlier, like, she thought she was making a show where she was like, "This is the Sheena show,
Mm,
and we are exceptional parents, and this is what I'm navigating," but I don't think they were really interested in it at all. And so
yeah.
when he's asking, it was like, where did this come out of left field? And then like the exploration of it wasn't really, there wasn't a full commitment to the exploration of it.
Yeah. I mean, she was just like, "I already had anxiety, and now it's, like, off the
So
chain,
yeah,
and
he was
nobody
like,
can babysit the
"What?"
baby besides my mother," and, and so but by the way, after a while, we're like, "We don't wanna hear about she only wants her mom to babysit. Let's move on to something more interesting," you
Well, I
know?
think a lot of people too who have more than one child, where it's like, so you have yourself, your husband, your mother, and a
Mhm.
babysitter for one child.
Right.
That's
A nanny and your sister as well.
yeah, that's a
Um,
lot.
that's a lot of people for Summer Moon. So they talk about Rachel, not coming back to the show. They talk about her podcast, and Andy asked any of them if they had regrets about how they treated her at the reunion. And Lala and Ariana both are like, "No, we stand behind what we said." I was kind of thinking Lala would back off it and say, like, I actually was too hard on her, but she doesn't. She says, "No, I stand behind what I said." And Lala said the difference is like coming out on this stage, like Ariana had a solid support system. And I don't know if I could have been brave enough to come out here and face it like, Raquel and Tom did. They were
Mhm.
pretty brave to face it because that was rough, and of course,
Yeah.
yeah, Ariana's just rolling her eyes. Then this is when Sandoval says he thinks Raquel is a coward because she preaches about moving on nonstop, but then she's constantly talking about him and the whole thing. And Schwartz is like, well, she's promoting a narrative that she's the victim. But when they're both to blame for their actions, like Tom did bad and she did bad. And he was like, "Yeah, like, she used the word groom, and that implies pedophile." And Lala goes, "No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean pedophile. It means someone older and in power taking advantage of someone impressionable." And here is where Sandoval says, "Well, guess what? I was impressionable when she took off all her clothes and jumped in my fucking
That's what I'm
pool."
saying. He's like very arrested development. He cannot have like an important,
Mm-mm,
thoughtful conversation at
mm-mm.
all.
He just really is the actual definition of a narcissist.
Yeah, he truly he thinks of no one but himself. And I don't think this press, I don't think it bothered him at all. And I'm dare to say I don't believe any of the story he told about his mental um frustrations and struggles this season, because I saw, from what I saw, based on what I saw on social media and what I saw on the show, was someone who did not seem to be bothered at all by it. In fact, felt emboldened by it and almost was like, now I can finally shine.
Yeah, and it didn't work out that way for him, and there's not anybody on the planet that watched this season was like, "Oh, man, this guy's really going through something," and like, "Wow, we kinda feel bad about how hard we were on him."
I
No,
almost
he
feel
made it
like he's
worse.
too selfish to even think about something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
saying as a viewer and a fan base, I don't think people came away from this season thinking like, "Oh, man, he really had it hard and we were too hard on him." No, we were
No.
no, because he's
Mm-mm.
no growth, no improvement, you know?
Well, I also feel like people well, I don't. I know that when I thought about whether or not she was complicit, Raquel, I mean, the discussion of the grooming is frustrating because I feel like she targeted James to get on the show.
Mhm.
And I feel like that one scene where she's talking to Ariana about their sex life is one of the
Mhm.
most cold, calculated moments I've ever seen. It is diabolical. That
Mhm.
crazy moment. So it's hard for me in reflection to go, she was taken under the instruction of this lead singer of a cover band. Like, I
Mhm.
feel like
Yeah.
they're both equally terrible people.
Same. Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Yeah. So, and they were reminded about when Lala said to him on the boat, "You isolate, you groom, and you lie." And then Lala goes, "I know that I have projected." And I think in this situation, only Tom and Raquel really know what went on. And generally, I'm going to side with the girl. And then she says, "I also hate that Raquel's out there putting out on her podcast that she and Ariana were just acquaintances when they were really, really good friends. They were practically best friends. And it's crazy for her to be like, Ariana and I were barely
Well,
even
that's her way
friends."
of
Yeah.
that's the way of diffusing the, or creating this narrative. It would only help create this narrative that he was, quote, unquote, "grooming her" if Ariana was just some associate.
Right. It wouldn't
It gives
matter as
less
much.
credence, yeah, like if yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But by the way, that's strategic, so there you go. This is not some she knew exactly what she was doing.
Yeah, and that's not working either. People aren't buying that either.
Mhm.
Um, Tom says, "Yeah, we're both, pursued the relationship. We're both equally wrong." And so then Andy tries to ask, Raquel's now suing Ariana and Tom about the revenge porn, and they say they can't talk about it. And Sheena's like, "That's just ridiculous because she didn't send the video to anybody." And I have listened a little bit to our friends over at the Bravo docket talking about the lawsuit and stuff and how it's
Okay.
likely the whole thing is going to get thrown out because
Oh, okay.
there is no proof. They would have to subpoena like everybody's phone from over a year ago to find out about the
Mm.
sending it, and there's no proof that it was sent to anybody. And it's the whole that he recorded her without her knowledge, but because there's only two people involved, there's really no case there. There would be a case if it
Mm.
was recorded without her knowledge and he sent it to 10 people. But he didn't, and Ariana didn't either,
Well,
so
that
there's
we know
really
of.
that we know of, they
We
say there's
just
no
don't know.
case. There's no
And I feel
case.
like Mark Arago said that it is something along the lines of, "It is absurd to suggest there's no evidence when in fact we do have it." So,
There's
I don't
2
know.
sides to it
I
then.
feel like
Yeah.
it's like, we gotta let it play out.
Yeah. Oh god, and then
That
we
could
s
definitely be one legal counsel going, they don't have anything, and you're like, "Wha how do you did you interview anybody? Did you look at evidence?" Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the girls in the Bravo docket were just reading what the court documents were
Oh, for
and
sure. Yeah.
and going, from that. We see talk of Tom and his suicidal ideation, and Lisa obviously saying she had a brother, that died by suicide, and so of course it's very important for her to take it seriously. And Ariana also she deals with anxiety and depression, and then Tom just out of the blue he brings up, "Well, I want to know how you guys think I weaponized." Her mental health and her suicidal thoughts when she said that to me, and they all explain it to him. They're like, it was a private conversation between the 2 of you, and you were telling everybody. It's if you tell other people
Yeah.
on camera
Awful.
that you had these thoughts,
Mhm.
then you told about yourself, but you were telling about a private conversation that the 2 of
Well,
you had, so, like,
I
why
think
don't
that
you get
goes
it?
back to, I feel like her level of feeling betrayed is because less about the romantic relationship. It was like that was, and we gotta all remember, like, in the ecosystem that they live in, you have to have alliances and friendships.
Yeah.
And they're in a weird vortex, which is high pressure, high stakes that we can't even relate to. And I think she relied on him to the detriment of her own sanity.
Mhm.
And so that's just another layer of like, I wish she would have spent more time this season. If you're not going to talk to Tom,
Mhm.
give us some more understanding of what you withstood for all those years.
Mhm.
Because not that people didn't kind of understand her already. It's just, I want to know the lengths of which this person should be stopped.
Yeah.
So that the next woman that dates him knows how awful he is. But that is a level of deceit for a very close friend. I mean, they lived together. Maybe they
Yeah.
weren't like sleeping together, but there was a very deep friendship, an exchange
Yeah.
of personal information, and to share something that is that deeply personal.
Yeah.
That's unthinkable to me. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. And he goes, "Well, I feel like when she told me that, she used it against me as manipulation." And Lisa
No
goes,
one
"But
uses that as manipulation. I
no."
can't imagine people do.
And Lisa was like, "Yeah, but you're telling the world about a private conversation." And he goes, "But, it's because I didn't believe her because she said 4 other things that didn't happen." And Lala says, "Okay, well, now you know how it is to actually have those thoughts and to have someone not believe you."
Mhm.
And so he kinda took that in, and Lala says, "You need to stop fixating on the things that are different with everybody else so it doesn't apply to you." And Sheena goes, "Hey, you know what? If you didn't believe her and you wanted to call bullshit on what you were saying, you coulda walked out the door. Walking out the door is calling bullshit on what she's saying." And he's like, "Yeah, but," and Sheena goes, "There's no but. My sentence was over. There's no but." So, I mean, you
Yeah.
think you when you think it's sinking in with him,
No.
it's really not.
Mm-mm.
It's really because he is going, "But that wasn't the same as me." He's doing it everything comes back to him, you know?
And then I'm thinking as I see those scenes, how frustrating it must be to be a producer
Yeah.
working with him.
Because you just can't
You can't get him
get
off a
through. You
wheel.
can't get it through to him.
Yeah.
So Andy goes, "It does seem like you take 2 steps forward and 10 steps back because in the New York Times article, you compared your situation to George Floyd and OJ Simpson." And Andy goes, "So you can clear the air now. Like, what do you want to say about that?" And he goes, "Oh, so like now I have to do a sales pitch on myself?" And James is like, "Just don't make it worse by saying the wrong thing." And he's
Yeah.
just like, and then he starts to try to explain it. But Lala kind of jumps in and goes, "Really, what you're saying is it's absurd that this was a news story when there are real tragedies in the world." And he goes, "Yeah, it's like CNN was reporting on a cheating scandal on a guilty pleasure reality show sandwiched between a story about the war in the Ukraine. And like, why is this as relevant as real news stories?" And Brock is like, "Yeah, it's clickbait." And then they were like, "Did any of you actually click and read the article?" And it's so funny. It goes back to Sutton's the only one that read the article before about
Mhm.
Tom Girardi. They
Well,
all say no, they didn't read it.
I don't think they read a lot of stuff.
Andy goes, "You should fire your PR team."
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that was good.
He had a lot of those good moments.
Yeah. He was like, "I mean, for real, dude. Like, that was terrible."
Yeah.
And then Katie says, "There's a concept called intent versus impact. It doesn't matter how you meant it. It doesn't matter your intent. It was the impact that it made. So that's why you have to think before you speak." And Lala goes, "And just for the sake of the fucking show, stop talking to people." I was like, "Well, it's too late for that."
Mhm.
You know.
Mhm.
All right, Lala's having a baby with donor number 1 for the party. She cries about that. Summer Moon is turning 3. We talk about postpartum OCD. We hear about about her worrying about Brock and Lala, and she admits, sometimes I live in the comment section.
Mhm.
They went to Australia recently. He's up to date on child support. He has been for 2 years, but it's up to the kids now to decide if they want to see him. He's handling it the best he can. He lets Courtney, his ex, he's letting her lead on this situation. But they all talk about what a great daddy is, a Summer Moon. And Katie says, "I have to eat my own words," because she was really hard on him in the beginning, which she should have been,
That was
because
very nice.
here's a guy who hasn't paid for child support in a long time, is now dating your friend and going to have a baby. Obviously, you're going to be worried. But Katie's like, "I have to eat my own words because now it's like a living amends. Like he's proved himself." Right.
Mhm.
They talk about the Speedos, which
No.
I'm against. Um, They talk about Ariana's success and her new relationship with Dan. And James is like, "Yeah, everybody gave me such a hard time because I started dating Allie 2 months after I broke up with Raquel, and she started dating this guy 8 days later." And she goes, "That's not true. I met him 10 days later. It was several months until we started dating."
Yeah, but by the way, I kind of feel my position on that is like I think that sometimes you can be like totally over someone in a relationship and you may have not had like the final nail in the coffin, but when you're done, you're done.
Yes.
And when you meet somebody and they give you just an inch of what you haven't had,
Yeah.
you're like, let's blow this taco stand. I'm going all in.
Yeah.
And that's not to say she's going to marry the guy. It's just
Right.
like she really wanted to be in a relationship where she felt supported. And clearly she hadn't felt that like almost a decade.
Yeah. She said on Watch What Happens Live that, like, he's not planning to move, all his family is there, and, everything she does is based there in LA. She was like, "So
Mhm.
nobody's planning to move." She was like, "I like the idea of being bicoastal, like, whatever." So, yeah, she's doing her thing. So,
Mm.
okay, so then they ask Sandoval about his new girlfriend, Victoria, who was with him at Watch What Happens Live the other night. Ariana does an eye roll. She's a model. She has dated Leonardo DiCaprio. They start talking about some wallpaper
I'm
they have in
sure
their bathroom.
I'm sure that she loves Tom Sandoval for all the reasons that are important and not having to do anything with having to been in a big news story of the year. I'm sure.
She's never
It's a
watched the show.
mutual
She's never watched the
I'm
show.
sure she's never watched the show.
Never heard of it. Just met
But
him
her agent's
naturally, and
like, "Hey,
yeah.
that guy is in town. You should go sync up to him and maybe you can get yourself out there more."
Totally. Um, Schwartz and Lala, joke about their bromance all season, and, they joke about, like, would they ever hook up, and Lala's like, "I mean, let's be honest, I'd eat you alive," and he's like, "Oh, no, I'm just so s just poor me, poor Tom." We talk about Tom Tom, we talk about Pump, we talk about something about her, and about regarding something about her sandwich shop. LVP was like, they did you guys did have disagreements because Ariana was away so much. Ariana's like, "No, we didn't. What are you talking about?" So it seems like everybody knows that Katie was frustrated with Ariana, except
Mhm.
Ariana. Um,
I mean,
you know
they just seem like they don't communicate well, hence the reason that there's been all these hiccups. But
yeah. I think the thing with that Penny is real interesting. That lawsuit's
Yeah.
interesting
Well,
too.
like, listen, I think Lisa Vanderpump is pretty much useless to the show with the exception of that
I
moment
agree.
because she can give that a little bit of, like, the audience some context on the complexities of opening anything, let alone a sandwich shop.
Yeah.
So I did need her there to go, yeah, things are not yeah, you guys don't talk." If she
Yeah.
hadn't been there, I think maybe people would have let that slide a little bit more, but then I was like then it opens the conversation of Schwartz and Sandoval going, "Yeah, we get it, like, it's hard."
Yeah. It was hard for us. It's hard for you too.
Yeah.
It's only easy for Jack because he bought an existing restaurant, you
Mhm.
know? So, they discuss the friendships now, and Lala says that Katie sent her, an extremely hurtful text, and she was basically like, "Get rid of your lawyers because you need a fucking therapist and you're a fucking clown." You gotta love Katie. You gotta love
Well,
Katie and her texts.
I feel like those 2, the reason that they can never be friends is because they're too similar, like, they're just,
Yeah,
like they will destroy you, and I just don't think 2 alpha destroy you personalities can coexist.
I agree. I agree. And Katie goes, "Yeah, I don't know if that was about your cousin." "Yeah, I called her a fucking clown, yeah." And Lala goes, "Yeah, we were on very rocky ground going into filming, and we see a lot of like, 'Don't put your finger in my face, shut the fuck up, say it with your whole we see all
Yeah.
that. I don't really quite understand the issue, but it seems Lala wanted people to rally around her like people
Mhm.
rallied around Ariana, and Katie's like, "Yeah, of course, who wouldn't want that?" Lala felt abandoned by Katie, and Katie says something about
I
the
don't think
public
Katie
thing
has
versus the
ever
friendship
gotten
thing. Yeah,
I don't think Katie's ever gotten over the when she said, "Well, if you don't have nice tits and you don't get invited on private jets, like, that's on you." I think Katie's one of those people that, like, keeps clock, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Like, I don't think she ever got past that. I gotta be honest, I don't think a lot of the audience did either.
yeah, a BJ on the PJ. Yeah,
Yeah, they're like,
yeah.
no.
Give a
We wanna be,
BJ
like,
to the PJ, right, and look how that
successful and
yeah, look how it
intellectual and get things on our own merits."
didn't turn
I'm
out.
sure I would assume that Lala at this point in her life feels embarrassed that she said that, but
I'm
it
sure.
doesn't 2 things can be true at the same time. Doesn't mean that Katie isn't like, "I met you under weird circumstances. You wanted me to sign an NDA
Right.
when you started dating this guy who clearly was married, and now we're a couple of years later, we're involved in this scandal, and you are not acknowledging that you had your own issues." But then
Mhm.
again, same could be said of everybody. No one's hands are clean.
Yeah, that's exactly right. No one's hands are clean. That's right.
Yeah.
Um, so then Lala says, "Well, I mean, Katie on the phone told me that she feels like Ariana abandoned her and the sandwich shop was behind on the rent." And Ariana's like, "What?" And Sheena goes, "You complained to Lala about Ariana not keeping up with the rent and leaving you when she went to Broadway." And Katie goes, "Okay, that was a one time I wish I would have gotten a heads up that you were like moving to New York for 3 months. Like that would have been nice." And then Katie goes, "A lot of stuff that I say has to do with my own insecurities. And her leaving like that was probably my own insecurity." And Lala goes, "Here's the thing. You and I are both truth tellers. But suddenly when the
Mhm.
camera goes up, I'm the only one talking about things. So I look like the bad guy." And then Andy goes, "Wait, okay, so you're saying that Katie is completely different off camera than on camera?" And Lala's like, "Yeah, we had this long conversation." Which I agree that that's not cool. If Lala and Katie had a long phone conversation where she just felt, "I'm venting because Ariana's like gone and we're trying to do this shit
Mhm.
and she's not here." I think it's not cool for Lala then to like say, "We had this conversation off camera and you were just
Yeah,
venting and now you're telling it all." I don't like that.
because I feel like in true friendships, you give people the grace to have a vent. Lord knows you and I talk all the time. What do I always say? There's nothing I love more than a vent.
Yeah,
But
sometimes you just got to.
I would never throw somebody under the bus by going, "Oh, you know what she vented me about?" No, 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 no. That is a safe space.
Yeah.
Every friend needs to be given the ability to do that. So I do think that's pretty gross, but I also think, um, she, like I said, was filming one show, and I
Mm,
think when she sees it's the end of the show, I think you're gonna see her going, This is why I've brought things to the forefront because this show was so stale, and now here we are because you
mhm.
guys would not show up and do the job and be authentic versions of yourself. You lived in the comments section, you're making alliances, and the show's been boring all season."
Yeah. So Lala says she thinks more than Sheena lives in the comment section. She thinks Katie pays attention to the patrols and James pays attention to the comment section and let that dictate how they act on camera. And James literally goes, "Oh."
Mhm.
He did literally like a gay gasp, like, "Huh!" He was like, "Huh, I can't believe you said that about me,"
Yeah,
which was hilarious,
that's
and I
funny.
mean, Lala kinda laughed, and Lala goes, sh Katie and I had this conversation about the Ariana thing, and Katie's upset because she's invested all her time and money into the sandwich shop, and, basically, Katie said to me, "Lala, if you're gonna fuck with my business, I'm gonna fuck with yours," and then she goes, "I mean, not to be rude, but something about her is nothing about her, and my business is thriving." I was like, "What business is thriving? Your Lala Beauty? Your Lala Baby? What business? Your rap
Mm.
career? What? Give them Lala, send it to Daryl? What business of hers is thriving? What is she talking about?"
If it she has, like, skincare products, no?
Yeah, it's like, give them Lala Beauty, I don't know.
Oh.
Lala Baby, I don't know.
I have to be
So,
honest, like, all their ancillary products, and this is probably true of Housewives too, like, I just don't pay attention,
yeah, the
which
only
I'm
thing is
sure is very frustrating for them that we're not paying I just don't I don't like, no.
I do take Venus CBD every night. It's true.
Do you? Okay.
Mhm. Thank you, Tamra. So, which by the way is owned by Medterra CBD. So if I just bought Medterra CBD, it's the exact same thing. So,
Oh.
Andy says, so you want her to Lala about Katie. You want her to be the same person on and off camera. And Lala goes, you all have been shooting this show for 11 years. And
Mhm.
Katie goes, I've always been the same person. To which I agree with that. I agree with that, and I think she's allowed to off camera talk to her friend about something probably only 4 people in the world can understand, and Lala being one of them, and she's allowed to vent, you know,
Mhm.
about the show and about this and that and the other to somebody else on the show and assume that her friend is not gonna blab it, you know?
Yeah. I don't know if she's very vocal on the show, though. So I could see how somebody would say, "You're not being really," but she, like, chooses her words wisely.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, next week we see Allie and Joe make an appearance. Ariana and Lala fight some more, and Sandoval indicates that he has a secret about James. To where James is like, "Oh, okay, you have a secret. Go ahead and tell it. Do it." Like, what is
What
it that
could the
he's?
secret be?
I mean, that it's been alleged quite a bit that James was verbally and physically abusive to
Oh, that's right, I forgot about
Kristen
that.
and Raquel. So
Right,
listen, I
oh.
think I think James sober is, pretty entertaining, so I hope he stays that way because I think the drinking
You
really
know,
is a lot of his problem.
I'm not buying that they're, like, I don't feel like James and Allie are very romantic.
You don't see them kiss a lot. We did see them kiss on
She
that last
seems, like,
episode.
very disinterested in him. I
I
don't know
think
if it's that, like, the thing on camera, but I feel kind of like, "I really wanna marry you, I'd love to be with you," and she's just sorta like, "Yeah, I'm just not really into that." I don't know.
her
Maybe she's
personality
trying
is
to pull,
very
like,
chill.
the page off of it, the page for she's trying to, like, duplicate Paige Craig maybe, I don't know,
Mm,
but it doesn't it feels very disjointed to me.
I just think she's also super young, and she's like, "I don't need to decide this right now. I'm, like, 24 years old." Like, yeah,
Mm.
I'm killing it with my astrology career, so let's move on to The Valley. So on The Valley, this episode was called The Big Bear Bombshell. I think after seeing Big Bear on these shows for all these years, I think I need to go to Big Bear.
I thought the opposite, actually.
You thought it looked horrible?
I'm like, I have no interest in ever going there.
I'd love to sit by I like to look at a lake and a mountain. I think
Oh, I
it's
don't, I hate a lake.
really my parents well,
No interest.
my sister lives on a lake, but it's nice to have a body of water to look at that's very big, not like a pond. You know what I mean? I like to look at a
Mm.
huge body of I don't wanna get in it. I don't wanna swim. I
I
just
don't
want
wanna
to look at
swim in
it.
a body of water that I can't see the bottom of.
I don't swim in any body of water at all.
And I feel like
Um,
all the Big Bear cabins probably have, like, wood paneling
this
and,
house
like,
looked cool though. It didn't look
1970s picture frames, and I don't wanna live in that space because it
8.
reminds me too much of my childhood family room, which was wood paneled.
This
In
house
the
that's there, it
woods.
looks nice. This house looks nice though. Looks a little more elevated, I think. You're not buying it. All right.
I mean, it's okay, I don't know.
All
I
right.
don't really wanna go over there ever.
All right. Well, I'll let you know because I have to go to California in September to the northern part, and we are going to go to like Yellowstone and do some things
Oh,
like that.
I've done that road trip.
Yeah.
Dan and I went with the kids, and I hated every minute of it. I think I just don't like nature in that space. I don't like I like a hiking trail, but by the beach.
I don't like a hiking trail or nature at all, but because we're there and I've never been to one of these giant national parks, my husband's insisting that I go.
You remember, Cary Stayner was the handyman in Yellowstone, and he murdered people. Remember that? Have a good trip.
We're not gonna stay there. We're gonna drive in, have a look at the
Mhm.
trees, and leave.
Oh my god. Ugh.
Okay. So we opened this episode with Zack crying about not being invited to Big Bear.
Okay, the other weird thing, I guess so. But if you're a single guy and you hear BabyMoon,
Yeah,
who wants to go to that?
he does because he's on the show, and
That's
he
it, because no
yeah.
normal guy would be like, "Yeah, that sounds fun," going with, like, a woman or a woman and her spouse to, like, talk about how she's about to have a baby.
Yeah, but
Listen, a
Jasmine will be
9-month
there, it'll be
pregnant
fun.
woman can't, like, motor around that much. It's not drinking, like,
Mm.
felt like a little bit
'Cause
overdone
the
for
other guys
TV.
will be there, and they like to, drink and everything. So, Kristen says, "Yeah, I feel like Janet is taking her anger at me out on Zach, and Zach should be allowed to go." And Zach said, "Janet is not low-key, Janet is a high-key mean girl," which I think we're learning more and more that Janet is a total mess, and I like it because I like somebody could give Jax a run for his money.
I don't think
Listen,
she's that bad, actually.
I think that it's been said a lot, like, she's a lot more, like, messy than even Jax is. So I'm here for it. I think this is
Yeah,
what the
she's
show
moving the
needs.
story, moving the
Yeah.
show. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we see that guy Simon who came in with the funny Crocs on his phone,
Yeah,
and
that was good.
I loved how Jazz was like, "Can we help you? Do you wanna get in
Yeah.
the car? What are you doing?" And he's like, "Literally, I'm taking notes on my phone for Janet."
Yeah.
I died. He just admitted it. He didn't say, "Oh, I was" oh, he didn't lie.
Yeah.
He admitted it, and Jasmine goes, "Fuck off, Simon." So he walks off, and and Jasmine in her talking head goes, "What we don't need is Simon, Harriet the spy over here taking notes for Janet. Janet should have fucking come," whatever. I
Yeah.
thought that was this show is good. This show is
I
good.
was just gonna say, I really hope that they don't move Sheena or Lala over, because I really like that they all came in at the same time.
Yes.
It would forever change the dynamics if you have somebody come in from another show who has all like a big platform.
Yeah.
Kind of would suck the air out of the room.
Yeah. I like that these are all new faces that we're
Mhm.
seeing.
Yeah.
So Jesse comes home from his ayahuasca trip, okay? And he hugs Michelle, and we've never barely even seen them touch each other, but he was hugging her and closing his eyes like he was having a spiritual moment. I think he's still on drugs. And he says, my experience was profound. I'm now very aware. It was plant-based medicine mixed with meditation and breathing. And I saw the demon that was in me, and everybody was energy and pixelated. But then I had some apple juice, and then I felt better. I think I died my ego death. I was blind, and now I can see. And she's just like, "Oh my God, this is not what I want.
No.
This is, oh, no." And she goes, "Well, thanks for doing that. It's a big step for you." Like, I mean, she's like, "I still don't like you. And I
Mhm.
don't want to hear about your ego death and your pixelating and your shoot me. Horrible.
Mhm.
Horrible." But she's just like, "Okay." So now we see Simon and Jared are over at Janet's, and they're looking at outfits for her to take to Big Bear, which is ridiculous. She's 9 months pregnant. There's only 4 things she can wear. So Simon is saying that he was texting the updates to Janet, and Janet goes, "Oh my God, it was so great." He was like, "But then Jasmine got mad at me." And then Kristen and Zach were crying. And Janet goes, "I don't care. Kristen cries all the time." And I was kind of like, "Does she?" And then they showed the clips of just this season all the time. I was like, "I guess she does.
Yeah,
I guess she does
she has
cry."
been crying a lot.
Yeah. And Janet says, "She excluded me from her party and I'm not crying. I don't care." So Janet goes, "I'm going to call Zach to tell him that he's not invited." And Simon and Jared sit in the corner, and they're like clapping and thumbs upping and everything. And they're like, she goes, "Listen, he was being like, 'I just think it's so rude. Like you're being so rude about this not inviting, and you're having somebody else tell me I'm not invited.'" And she goes, "You're coming in hot for somebody who wants to be invited to my baby moon. You're acting
Yeah.
entitled to come." And of course, what we're not saying is it's a cast trip, and
Yes, exactly.
she's icing him out. But Janet was trying to ice them out.
Yeah.
Oh, and what they're not saying is we're trying to ice you out of this show, which is never
Mhm.
going to happen because Kristen is the reason the show is. So
Yeah, and he got there via Brittany, right? They went to college together? Like,
He
is he really friends with the other people, or is this like Brittany needs a friend?
well, okay, my understanding is, he moved from Kentucky or whatever over to LA because he's Brittany's best friend. And then through that process, he became best friends with Kristen as well. The story, and I don't know what podcast I heard this on, so I'm not trying to not give somebody credit. I really can't remember that the story originally was supposed to be the Valley, which was Jax and Brittany and Kristen and Zack, and that Kristen was
Mm.
gonna have to try to have a baby with Zack as the donor. And they were gonna be like
That seems pretty slim for a potential show, and maybe that's
so
why
it
it
didn't
wasn't
happen.
sold.
It wasn't
Yeah.
sold. Right. So, that's probably another reason why Zack feels very, very entitled to
Yes,
be
that
the
does.
main cast
Yes.
member, you know?
Yeah.
So Nia and Danny are bringing the twins. They have to because she's still breastfeeding, and the
Mm.
nanny to Big Bear. They have walkie talkies in the car, which is funny. It's a fun idea. The Big Bear house is huge and gorgeous. Jesse has brought an entire suitcase of his own alcohol and coffee maker because he fears that when he gets
I
there,
kinda
like
like him.
it
I
won't
think he's
be.
my favorite.
Oh God.
I
Okay.
think he's just so LA.
He's very good TV because he's very just the way he
He's just
dresses and
so
his
LA. Yeah,
headband hair.
he's like a
Yeah.
character. Like, if he were someone's dad, for example, like, I think
Uh-huh.
he's gonna get even better with age in terms of quirkiness. Like, if I went to
Mm.
someone and they were like, "Kate, you gotta meet my dad, he's a character," I'd be like, I would wanna hang out with him all day long because he's so specifically LA. He's been clueless to the fact that his wife has been miserable for a very long time.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, he doesn't seem that diabolical, but he seems clueless.
I think it's funny how it's like, we don't live in the valley. We live behind the Chateau Marmont. It screams ambition.
But that's how people in LA think.
Yeah, I know. I know.
They're
Yeah.
like, "The
Yeah.
valley is so gross. That's so embarrassing." That's how people are there.
Yeah. But it's literally like
And
I was just there. It's
of
15
course
minutes
he
away.
sells luxury real estate. If
Of
he
course.
brings, like, all those accoutrements just to, like, go to big first, I just can't imagine people in LA are like, "Let's go to Big Bear."
Yeah, but they do all the time on the shows.
Oh,
Um,
no, oh, no, only on Vanderpump.
didn't they go to Big Bear one time on Beverly Hills? Or maybe they went to Tahoe. They went to
No,
Tahoe. That's
Tahoe
different.
is higher level.
Okay.
Big Bear is not.
Okay.
Yeah. It's sort of like
Oh.
going to Aspen or the Poconos.
Wow. Well, that's a huge leap of
Yeah.
difference.
I mean,
Okay.
Mark Zuckerberg has a huge home on the water in Tahoe. There you
Okay.
go. Big Bear, my husband's dad had a condo there, like, when he was growing up.
Stassi's mom
It's
lives in Big Bear.
it's more like normal people go there.
Yeah.
It's like suburban people go there. But Tahoe is like they filmed parts of The Godfather there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, Tahoe looks amazing.
Yeah, and no,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. And I hate
So
the lake, and I thought it was beautiful.
so maybe we'll go to Tahoe. Maybe that's closer to Yellowstone. Maybe we'll go there.
You go to Tahoe for
Okay.
sure.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start working
I
on
actually, when
that.
I was there, I thought there should be a reality show about, this one place. It's like they do boats for people in Tahoe on the water. It was like, they should just cover this for the summer.
Yeah. What about
Like the
Wolf? Lisa Vanderpump's new restaurant at Lake Tahoe. The
quiet
sexiest
luxury,
restaurant in all of
sexiest restaurant in
Tahoe.
Tahoe.
Then they show us about, remember when Jax almost drowned a Big Bear? That was funny. Brittany's car sick. So she gets car sick on the drive there and she's car sick. Now, this is, I think, the third time we've seen her with a pretty bad stomach ache. So I am beginning to wonder if she's got what, um, not Alexis, but Marisol from Miami had when the inside of her stomach was eating itself because of her alcohol abuse,
Well, yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
he's intimating that she's a full-blown alcoholic, which seems
Yeah.
very dangerous to do when you're co-parenting a child,
Mhm.
to say the least.
Mhm. Yeah, yes. I just heard her saying, that she's in the Airbnb now with Cruz and that he seems to be doing so much better. I think Heather said this on her podcast that Cruz is doing so much better not being around parents that are fighting.
Oh, sure, I believe that.
Yeah, yeah. So, Jesse tells Michelle, he's like hugging her from behind, like, this is our sex trip. And she's like, okay. Now she acts kind of nice, but maybe it's just because the cameras
No,
are on.
she's, like, checked out of that relationship a long time ago, but she did say in the first episode that he did not help at all with the baby.
Yeah, and
And
now he's trying to act
sorry,
like he's super dad. Yeah,
you can't get over that.
I
You
agree.
can't.
So the girls are on a boat and they're kind of back and forth about the whole thing with Kristen and the blah blah blah. The guys are sitting on a little beach and they're talking. And Jack says, "Look, I just can't get over this because because so Jesse has
Mm.
floated off on a raft." So he goes, "I know Kristen told me that Michelle is texting somebody on the side." And Jason goes, "Why are we sneaking around like little bitches? We should just tell him." And Jackson's like, "I don't know because it came out of Dodie's mouth, so I don't know." And Danny goes, "Jesse knows his marriage is in trouble. It's not going to be like news to him." Danny gets away from those kids for 4 minutes and he gets blackout like in the first 10 minutes. Like he
Yeah.
gets so excited to have a break from his kids. But I mean, he's got a nanny and the 2-year-old's not even there. So get
Mhm.
drunk, get drunk. So Luke and Kristen are now talking to a couples counselor. His name is Alan. Here's my main question. Why is there a giant black refrigerator next to Luke and Kristen's couch?
Because that is another ooh, a really funny kind of weird thing is that I feel like they're trolling her too. She used to live in this
Yes.
really cute house, and then
I
they're like,
know.
she's in this carpeted apartment with a black refrigerator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
And
that's the cheapest refrigerator you can get at a Best Buy.
it's better than her apartment she just moved out of.
You know, I did go to her old apartment before she owned the home, and
Yeah.
she gave me a tour of her refrigerator, now that I think about it. I think I still have pictures of it. It was lots of vegetables. I think she's, like, super vegan or
She's
something.
super vegan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the therapist
She
wants
just
to
seems really miserable, doesn't she?
no. I don't think she
Kristen?
I don't think she seems super miserable. I think that
I feel like
her
she's on the verge of tears and angry and just agity. And I by the way, I watched the last part of that episode when my husband was in the room, and he was
yeah.
like, "Are these 2 for real?" I have to say that therapist that they used was really good. I thought he was really, really good with the insight.
Yeah.
But they are their, individual ideas about what parenting would be like,
Yeah.
and
Well,
their mutual beliefs is so out of whack, crazy town.
they've had 0 discussion. And so that's what the therapist wants to ask them, like, about having a baby, so now you've gotta talk about financial stuff, and she's like, "No, yeah, I don't wanna talk about money." And Luke goes, "It's not comfortable, it's not like a sexy conversation, but we have to have it. We have to talk about money, and we also have to decide where we're going to live." Because he's pretty staunch
Mhm.
into, "I'm not living this LA life," and she's pretty much like, "I'm not living off the grid in Colorado." So they have to come up with something. Maybe they can move to Tahoe. They gotta come up with something in the middle. You know, they
Mhm.
have to. Um, Now the girls on the boat stopped by the beach area with the guys. Okay. I don't know how this happened, but they did. Jesse and Danny get drunk and start play fighting. And then the girls are showing off their self defense skills. And Jesse hurts Michelle's nose, who apparently she got a nose job only a year ago. When they show her old nose,
That's
I was
so
like,
LA. That's
her
so LA.
her old nose looks like Rachel Fuda's new nose.
Oh,
Doesn't it?
yeah,
It
I
did. It
guess.
it had that flip up that everybody
Mhm.
wants, that ski jump. The girl on Melissa on Love During Lockup did the same thing. Um, Jax and Brittany have a fight because I guess the babysitter has sent them a clip of Cruz crying in the pool because he's upset about his swim lesson.
By the way, what a dumb babysitter. That is not a we don't appreciate that.
No,
That
mm-mm.
was really dumb.
Yeah, oh, he has
You're
swim
already giving
lesson. Look,
like, parents
here he
don't
is.
need to g like, what because they can't do anything about it. That's
Right.
I didn't like that.
Just show a picture of him in his little swimsuit and be like, "We had swim lessons today. It went great." You know.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Turn that off. What's wrong with you? Turn that off. What's wrong with you? Turn it down." And she tries to grab at her phone. She's like, "Golly, Jix, you don't have to be so aggressive." Shit. So poor Brit now, she is in 2 pair of glasses. She's in her regular glasses and her sunglasses on top. She obviously scratched her eyeball or something.
Yeah.
It's just not her glasses are not cute glasses. It's her glasses are not cute. They
Mhm.
are not cute glasses, and they keep showing her in the glasses. And I'm really
Everything she
my heart
does,
is
he
bleeding for
can't
her.
stand. He was over this a long time ago.
I think that Ryan Bailey made a great point. I was on his podcast on Wednesday, and he made a great point, which is Jax feels like being married to Brittany is what he's supposed to do. And
Sure.
he
Mhm.
just he knows that's what he knows he's supposed to love her and this marriage, and it's exactly perfect for he's got this woman begging him to have sex. She wants to have more kids with him. She makes her own money. There's nothing about it that he shouldn't want,
Because I
but
think
he doesn't.
I think he still lives in the Jason from Florida becoming Jack's portion of his life.
Yeah,
Where, he's making drinks. He's like, well, I got that job because of the way I looked. It's going to South, but I got it because the way I think
yeah,
he is struggling with the reality of getting older. And he thinks he
yeah.
should have been with somebody who was more of his level in his mind.
Right, but Brittany, if you recall, definitely looks-wise was slash
Well,
is his level.
she made he made her change her look to accommodate him. I thought
Right.
she was so cute when she was just from Kentucky.
I agree. I think
And
that
then he, like, made her get all these I don't know if he made her, but, like, maybe coaxed her into believing she needed surgeries.
I hope, I really hope that when she does finally divorce him, which I do believe is coming, and every person on that cast when asked will say they're never getting back together. He does not
Mhm,
appreciate her. That I hope that she will get smaller breast implants because I think she should go with what she wanted originally, not what he wanted.
mhm.
She seems uncomfortable.
She seems uncomfortable,
She seems
yeah.
uncomfortable. So they have to pull, they're in the car talking, and Brittany's like, Jax just doesn't care how he speaks to me in front of other people. I mean, and then of course, the the sidebar there is how does he speak to you at home? If this is how he speaks to you in front of other people. And they have to pull over because she's sick. She's like, I've always had a weak stomach and I think I'm still sick from that car ride earlier. But please don't tell Jax I threw up because then he's going to ask me how many drinks I had and he's going to think that's because I was drunk. And they were like, you didn't even drink on the boat. She goes, I had one drink on the beach and he's never going to let me live it down. So this is a
Mhm.
theme of what he's doing to her, right? So now we see Danny. Danny's talking to Jesse, and I didn't quite understand this, but he says to the extent of, I apologize if I offended you. And Danny explains to Jesse, that is not an apology.
Yeah.
I apologize if I offended you. It's not an apology. And Danny says, Jesse keeps talking about this brand new person he's become, but I can't wait to meet him.
Yeah, that's good.
And then Danny and Jesse are like beep, 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 back and forth. And then Danny was like, "Shut the fuck up," or Jesse says, and I was like, "I don't really quite understand what they're fighting about,"
Mhm.
but I didn't care enough to rewind. Michelle goes in to talk to Jesse, who's in the bed. So obviously the guy's got schnockered, right? So Michelle's
Yeah.
like, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, "I just need a nap. I just need a nap." So everybody's like, "We're gonna change into comfy clothes," and everybody gets super excited. Jax asks Michelle to go outside and talk. They're pouring drinks, and she's like, "He's a wimp. He's in the bed, but I'm not." So he goes, listen, I'll put $20 in the jar because I'm going to talk about Kristen. So they're all decided that whoever
Yeah.
mentions Kristen has to put $20 in the jar. And if you never mention her the whole weekend, then you get to take all the money. So they go outside to chat and he says, listen, Kristen told me that you were texting this guy on the side. And Michelle goes, yeah, I met a celebrity and I had coffee with him. And Jess goes, oh God, this is just so hard for me to say. So hard for me to say. But my understanding was that it was like sexy pictures. And Michelle goes, yeah, I've texted with multiple people. Like, what do you want to know? I mean, she's got no shame in her game,
I
which,
kind of love
yeah,
that about her.
yeah.
I didn't really get her, but then when she did that, I was like, "Okay, I'm kind of into this."
Yeah, because she's like, don't forget, I rented an apartment, was going to move out, and he begged me to stay. Yes, this shit has been over for a while.
Yeah.
Yes, I was texting
But
with other
also, like,
people.
go ahead and try me, dog. Like,
Right.
it's not gonna work.
Yeah,
Like,
what do you
you
think
got
you're gonna
something on
prove?
me?
Yeah.
Fine.
Mhm.
I
I
thought that
agree.
was awesome.
I thought it was great. But I just want to know who is the celebrity. When they talked about the director, which everybody assumes is Michael Bay, I think we're talking
Mhm.
about a different person now because they said there was also a male celebrity, and that wouldn't be Michael Bay.
Well, it sounds like she's got multiple people that she's texting.
You go, girl. I like it.
I know, I kinda do. I'm telling you, I like it too, but I also like him. I think they're such weirdos in their own cute, funny, cool way.
Mhm.
They just remind me of, like, cool people I meet in LA. They're just, like,
Yes.
they're very, like, likable in their own weird way.
Just
I don't
not
know.
together, just not together.
And they're probably great coworkers. They probably sell the shit out of a $12 million property.
Yeah, I bet
Like,
so, and it'll be even better now that
yeah.
they're divorced because they may look at us, we're quirky, we're divorced, but we still work together.
And then they
Yeah,
roast each other. Like, she's gonna be like, "Where's your boyfriend?" And he's gonna be like, "I don't have a boyfriend." And she's like,
yeah,
"That's what you keep telling yourself." Or like, what the
yeah,
banter back and forth
yeah,
will be really funny. And I think like in the future, their daughter's gonna be like one of those girls on TikTok that takes videos of her divorced parents and how
yeah.
they like get along great.
Yeah.
They're like, she's disgusted by him right now because she just does not want to be in the confines of a marriage. But I bet you they'll like have a funny relationship in years to come.
Yeah. I
And
think
I
you're
want to
right.
see him date. I want to see her date. I want to see his reaction to her dating. Like, I'm already thinking 2, 3 seasons ahead now.
He's only gonna date girls that are between, 24 and 29.
No, not true. In fact, he's dating a woman who lives here in Orange County, who I believe is
Really?
over 30. Yeah.
Really? Over
Mhm.
30?
I
Wow.
know. Yeah, yeah. She may be over 35.
Yeah, I definitely don't think he wants any more children. I think he just wants the one. Isabel Bunny.
I think for the short term, he wants someone who is a fan of his, like thinks he's
Oh,
really
yeah.
fun and cool. I
Mhm.
think post divorce, that's what people like. I think she's going to
Mhm.
get a tremendous amount of sex.
I think so too.
But I think he wants to just be loved. I think in the short term, she wants a lot of sex.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's the one that screwed up the marriage, and it's too little
Mhm.
too late, and so they just need to be divorced and be co-parents. That's it, which is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Next week, Danny cries about being stressed, of saying, like, "You don't understand, like, you're up every 2 hours feeding these babies, and we've got this 1.5 year" whatever, and it's, as very stressful to have little children like that, so he cries about that.
But also they have twins. That's another whole
Yeah,
thing.
it's a whole different
Twin babies is like, wow.
different ball of wax. Michelle talks to Jesse and says, "Yeah, I told you I had coffee with that celebrity." And he was like, "Well, I didn't know about the sexy pics." And she's like, whatever." Um,
I just think they're such good TV.
um, then he cries to the guys and says, "You guys, like, I think my marriage is over." Yeah, you're right. Brittany still feels sick. She's going on a few days at this. And Jack's demands from the other
It
girls.
is weird. Now let's think about it. When they had the sake dinner, she
Yeah,
took a shot and then
yeah.
she's like, I don't feel she must have been drinking beforehand or it had some does she can't eat bad tuna roll like every single day and have this reaction. Like what is happening?
I think she has like an ulcer. I
Oh
think
yeah,
she
that like what is happening? Yeah.
Yeah, I think she has, like, what Marisol had when they were on that Ultimate Girls Trip. She was having so much trouble. The drinking is what made it worse, because
Oh,
it's
because
just like,
the drinking, that's why he's mad she's drinking.
because I think she's
So
got,
maybe
like,
he's not saying that she's an alcoholic. Maybe what he's saying is like you're exacerbating the problem by drinking.
they haven't got a diagnosis on this problem. They don't know what it is. He just
Oh
knows
boy.
every time she takes a drink, then she feels sick. Maybe she should go to the
Yeah.
doctor. Um,
And is he only getting mad because that means that she can't take care of the baby and then he has
Probably.
to? Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
The baby.
So,
He's not a baby, but you get the point.
Jax is saying to the girls, he's like, "How much was she drinking? Like, how much was she drinking on the boat?" And Jasmine said, "0. She was drinking 0." And Brittany sticks her head out of the room and goes, "You're my fucking husband trying to make me look like a bad person. Fuck you, Jax. Fuck you." Slam, with those glasses on. And he's like, "Uh-oh." But I mean, listen, Jax, who's had 4 nose jobs because he's burned a hole in his nose allegedly. I
Oy.
mean, let's don't throw stones here. And
Oh,
but
definitely. Yeah.
maybe she drinks a lot because she's upset all the time, so she thinks she can have a
I
couple
think
glasses of wine, take
honestly,
the edge off.
he's just like everything annoys her at this point. Or excuse me,
E- e-
annoys him.
Everything she does. Yeah.
Everything she does, he's like, enough. I can't, he can't stand the way she breathes, the way
Hmm.
she brushes her teeth. He can't
Yeah.
stand the way that she doesn't put like the dishes in the dishwasher.
Yeah. Because he really is like OCD with the cleaning. Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Just because he told us that doesn't mean it's true.
Well, that's true. That's a great point. I would like to get just your quick thoughts on Jersey. We're 2 episodes in to
Yeah.
Jersey, and so far I feel like the thing I was most excited about was when they did that whole Teresa talking to Louis on the phone, like, "They just broke the news on social media that
Mhm.
John Fuda likes the double-sided
I
purple
mean, they're just so
dildo."
transparent. They're so calculating. The only thing that I found interesting, especially I'm so bummed that these accounts
Yeah.
that trolled, which by the way, I've been on the receiving end of that some of the stuff. I interviewed Margaret last year and I got a deluge of like really vicious behavior thrown my way.
Mm,
I don't like the way that now, because they're all arguing with one another, they're spoiling the whole season. These shows, like, we make a career out of this, but, like, most people are just looking to it at the end of the day as an escape, and, like, don't ruin that for people. Aside from that, I thought the most interesting scene, honestly, was when Rachel saw Jen Fessler talking to Teresa, and
Mhm.
just the realization, I've just invested a year of my life into someone with whom I thought I was very close. And now I see that they're a people pleaser and they can't be
Mhm.
trusted. And this will forever change the dynamics between us. Like that was a really good scene.
Yeah, I think that, I heard Margaret say on, Jeff Lewis's show on XM, I heard her say, Rachel just is non-confrontational, and she'll just go which any way the wind blows to not make anybody I mean, so sorry, Jen Fessler.
Jen.
Jen Fessler doesn't
Yeah,
want anybody
gross.
to be mad at her, so she'll go any way the wind blows, and
I
I
like
keep
that.
telling her, "At some point, you have to stand up, or you have to stand for something," and Margaret doesn't dislike her, or wasn't saying she disliked her, she likes her a lot. She was just
Yeah.
like, she's new to this, and so she doesn't understand, like, you can't be loyal to everybody because somebody's gonna be shit talking you, um,
Yeah, I
and
didn't like how she was like, "I like Teresa. I like her." And you're like, "How can you be friends with someone if you know that Teresa is doing everything in her power to disrupt their lives, to say damaging things?" Like, I don't think that's okay.
Well, I did think it was interesting now that we know what we know about all the stuff that came out from Melissa's old nose, Instagram account and all that stuff, or Twitter or whatever it is,
Mhm.
that they're planting stories the day that they're filming. So you could look at your phone and be like, I
Mhm.
just saw this story on my phone. It is because you always know that like there's some shenanigans going on, but I
Yeah.
never thought it would go so much as like, hey, we're filming today. So put this fake article out so I could talk about it on camera.
Yes.
That's interesting because we saw it in real time in episode 1, and that made me go, "These people that are so" first of all, never been I don't understand the tree huggers, I'm sorry, I don't. She does make good television, but it that Louis did not elevate her, it brought her way
No.
down. It brought her
Yeah.
way down.
I'm endlessly frustrated with him getting any camera time.
And then he had that shirt on, "Give me pizza, you old troll," and hers says, "Namaste, bitches." I'm like,
Mm.
"Really?" I get it, branding, but come on. Come
Mhm.
on, and he said that to his dad, and you're now the stepdad. Ugh,
It's all
ugh,
gross.
it's all
Yeah.
gross, and he's wearing no-nos pajamas for fuck's sake. All right, well,
Can't undo that one.
that's the end of that, but I did wanna say, Kate, before you and I got on, I was driving in my car, I was listening to your episode you just did about, Bronx Zoo 90, the
Oh, so
documentary.
good. It's so good. Yeah.
I sent it immediately, I sent my friend who's a huge Yankees fan, I sent him I think it's a because it's on Peacock, I was like, "I don't know if you know about this documentary, you'd be all" he's Yankees fan since he was, like, a little kid.
Did
I
he
go,
know?
"You" I didn't see if you wrote me back before I got on
Oh, I'm
with you,
sure
but
that they do because my friend, is a gigantic Yankees fan, and I just said Bronx, and they finished the text, like,
oh,
Zoo 90, like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're like, they can't wait.
Yeah, okay, well, he probably knew about it because he's probably on an email list or something, but I sent it
Yeah.
to him, I was like, "I don't know if you know about this documentary, but you should watch it because it sounds like wacko right up your alley." I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
my husband too, and I said, "Also, you should listen to my friend Kate did a podcast with the producer to get some behind the scenes," so,
I think if somebody
yeah.
at home and, like, loves sports, this is a great thing for you both to watch. I mean,
Yeah,
wasn't it, your podcast where Kathy Griffin once said, "I don't even care about sports, but I like the docuseries." It's because you
yeah,
learn about someone's personal story. So I think actually a lot of these sports docuseries kind of bring people together. So if you're looking for something to watch this week, here are my 2 recommendations. Anybody with sports, even if you're, like, kinda like sports, the story of the Yankees 1990 season is insane. Like, there's so many crazy people. It's really kind of funny and crazy and wild to watch. The other thing is Love Undercover on Peacock, which
I know, you
is
texted me about that, but I haven't
so
had a chance
good.
to watch
Oh
it.
my god, you're gonna die
Okay, I'm
because,
gonna write that
if people
down.
aren't familiar with it, it's a dating show where you've got 5 bachelors, and they are dating these women. It's set in Los Angeles. These women have no idea that these 5 guys are actually international soccer stars. So
Mm,
they walk in and they're, like, meeting these guys, and they think that they have jobs like a construction worker and a fitness trainer and a restaurant manager
yeah,
because the guys have to keep it quiet in order to see if they can find love. So you have the women who are like, I'm an influencer and I just want a guy who can like elevate my lifestyle. And then you have the guys who are like, it's really hard to date when you can't use the information that you're a footballer because
yeah,
that's what always works for me. And it
yeah,
reminded me of the episode I did with the creator of Rock of Love with Brett Michaels. This
okay.
was episode 121, my favorite of all time. And the creator who actually went on to create Below Deck, he
Oh,
told me that they had to teach Brett how to date because he just basically just had like groupies. So
right.
like, okay, like, you have to ask her like, what's your name? Like, where do you live? What? And
What's your name?
he was like, wait, what? Because it was like he would open a door and there'd be a girl topless.
Yeah, he didn't have to work for anything.
So you have this one footballer who's 37, and he's like an ex-footballer who now is like a huge radio football personality, and was part of a scandal because he was married before and he cheated on the woman. It was like all over the press in the UK.
Okay.
And he's super funny, like somebody we would go to college with, kind of
Yeah.
personality. And he's like, this, for fuck's sake, this sucks because I can't tell people like I'm a footballer. Like that's what always works for me. Now I have to be like a regular person. So it's very amusing. All the guys get along really, really well. And some of
Are
the
they like
like
in are they like in a house?
they end up putting them in a penthouse because the one guy, Marco, keeps getting recognized. I go, well, no shit, Sherlock. You guys are filming in LA and he's a Mexican, like Olympic soccer star. Of
Well, I
course,
was gonna
people are going to
ask you if they were
recognize him in
all
LA.
yeah, I was wondering if they were all from the UK or if they were from all
No,
different countries.
two of them are from Mexico. One won the Olympics, like an Olympic medal, and has
Wow.
played on a ton of teams, both regular soccer and indoor, and is
Uh-huh.
like beloved in Mexico.
Okay.
The other guy is the son of a guy who owns 3 Mexican soccer teams, and this very handsome, tall drink of water also plays in Spain.
Mm,
Then you have Lloyd, who's 28, who I interviewed, who is stunning. He's 6'2", and he plays for a team in England, and he's from England.
okay.
And then you have Jamie O'Hara, who played in England. He was like friends with David Beckham, and
Mm.
he lives in England. And then you have Ryan, who I also interviewed, and he's Dutch, but played in
Ooh.
the UK for like Liverpool, and he
Yeah.
also dated Amanza from Selling Sunset for a couple years. He's very
Okay.
cool. He's like super gorgeous and he always wears sunglasses and he's just very meditative. So, but the funny thing with him is they give them folders of like, this is what your job is. So, like, know some
Yeah.
phrasing. They told him that he's a construction worker. Well, throughout the episodes, he's like dialing it up. At one point, he tells a girl, yeah, I was working one of my jobs. I was working on the Burj Khalifa. And I was like hanging off the building. And these girls are like, oh, really? Okay. But the best is when they kick a girl off and then they get to tell them, I'm actually like an international soccer star. Because some of them are like,
Wow.
I'm sorry, wait, what?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll watch it.
I feel like
How many
you could
episodes
watch
are
that with
out?
your husband. I think 4. You could watch them with your husband. You guys will just laugh and laugh and
Well,
laugh.
you
And
know, my
like I said,
husband and my son are
the guys get along.
super, super into, British football. They're like they went to 2
That's
matches
what
while we were over there. They went to Elton John's
they're going to
team,
recognize some of those guys.
Watford, and they went to Arsenal, and
They're
they
gonna
are
love it. They're
yeah.
gonna be punching the couch laughing. Like
Yes.
McBee Family Dynasty, Love Undercover, Bronx Zoo 90. These are things that you can watch with the dudes in your life.
Okay. Well, we
And
just
it's
started watching
so
Ozark.
fun.
I mean, I've already seen
Yeah,
all of
yeah,
Ozark,
okay.
obviously, but
Yeah.
we had to have some things to watch because we were on vacation together. I was like,
It's
"We have
so
to watch
fun when you can
something,"
watch something together.
which we
That
never
there
do.
by the way, no, I never have
We
something.
never do either. That's why I was like,
I've
"I
been
think you like
watching
Ozark. There's
I
murder."
watched no, not Full Swing, Breakpoint, which Dan is crazy about tennis, and then he's like,
Mm,
"Well, I wanna watch this other scripted series first." I'm like, "Oh, forget it." Like, I
I
gotta
know.
move on.
I know, and also for me too, a lot of it, I'm sitting and I'm working and I'm writing notes, so when I do get a chance to watch something
Yeah.
just for fun, it's so rare, and then I'll be like, "Hey, I'm gonna watch this murder documentary," and Dave's always like, "No, no."
Oh, speaking of murder, there's one on Hulu on Friday, and it is called The Beauty Queen Killer.
Okay, writing
It's
it
my Friday
down.
episode, actually. So,
Okay.
Christopher Wilder was an Australian American who went on a 47-day rampage in 1984 where he kept kidnapping women and then would kill them. And one he kept captive for 9 days. And this is the first time she's ever been interviewed about it.
Or were they all beauty
And
queens? Is that why he's called that?
well, it was like he would approach women in the mall, like,
Okay.
"Hey, you're beautiful. Can I take your picture?" kind of deal.
Right. I'm a model
Um,
scout.
but the
Mhm.
producer, I know Elliot, he had been on my show before reviewing like a Beatles doc.
Uh-huh.
His wife went to school with the girl that was kept captive. And so he
Ooh,
circled back to her and was like, "Hey, would you ever be interested in telling your story?"
yeah.
And that's why she came forward. She like knew the people behind it. Anyway, it's
Ooh,
very survivor heavy. It's not really talking about the creepy
yeah.
guy, but
Mhm.
more about like their stories, which I think is, much better, obviously. But that's a good true crime one. And did you watch the ABBA one? There's an ABBA doc that you can stream it.
I haven't
ABBA
watched the
Against All
ABBA
Odds.
one.
If people like music, that's a good one too. It's the whole backstory on how they became this global phenom.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch up. I haven't watched last Sunday's episode of The Jinx, episode 4. I haven't
Yeah.
watched yet, but 1, 2, and 3 I've watched, and I've just been riveted.
Isn't it funny
Riveted.
those paralegals who are, like, dorky and they just keep
Love
laughing?
them. They're twins, but they're not identical.
Yeah.
They are so funny, and then when they imitated, like, "Mom," like, when just like what
Yeah.
we used to do, when Teresa or Joe would call from prison, like, "It's Joe.
Yeah.
It's Teresa."
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I've got a lot of things to watch now,
Yeah, you
so
got a lot to watch.
thanks
So
for that.
listen, for the people listening, just go to katecasey.substack.com because you're going to get a
Yep.
list of what to watch each week. It's really, really very helpful. Like those things I just mentioned, you probably had no idea about. And I might bring you together with the person that's in your life. Maybe it be as a friend, a coworker, maybe it's somebody that you live with. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a child of yours. It's going to give you a lot of different options, docuseries, reality shows, documentaries, katecasey.substack.com, and you can get the archive list. And then you can listen to my podcast, Reality Life with Kate Casey. Please join the Facebook group, Reality Life with Kate Casey. And you can find me on socials, Instagram, at KKCCA, TikTok, it's Kate Casey, Twitter and Threads at Kate Casey. And bonus episodes I have a Patreon too with bonus episodes. And I just covered the Miss Teen USA and the Miss USA resignation scandal. You can check that out. And also, my friend Scott was on, who's a medium, and we talked about dead celebrities, which include Queen Elizabeth
Wow.
and what's really going on with Charles, William, and Kate. So patreon.com
Wow.
/Kate Casey.
Well, I am a member of your Patreon, and I saw the teen one, but I didn't see the Scott one. So that's
It's one
some
back. Yeah,
it's
one
one
back.
back. Okay, I need to go look
And when
at
we
that.
talk about Matthew Perry,
Mm,
yeah.
sad.
Mhm.
That's where you find Kate. And you guys find me at Pink Shade Pod over on Instagram. As you know, I'm out here begging for followers at all times. So please help me get to 10,000. It's all I'm at. I'm like 300 or less away at
Oh,
this
there you
point.
go. There you go.
I mean, I don't even know what I have to do. My joke is, who does Brielle have to blow to get me to get to 2,000? But
What's happening to Brielle right now?
she's
Oh,
engaged,
she's
I think.
engaged. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I shouldn't make a joke, but whatever. It's an oldie but a goodie.
Well, I'm
Always,
sure her new husband doesn't appreciate that her mom said that either.
who would appreciate it? I think she was like 17. I mean,
Croy didn't seem to mind. It was weird.
ew, that's another story. All right, everybody. I will talk to you later this weekend with Meredith talking about Seeking Sister Wife and Love in Paradise. And I don't know who I'm going to have on next week to talk about Bravo. I think I might reach out to our buddy Brian Moylan and see what he's up to.
Brian. Oh, yeah. That's a good
So
one.
good. So good. All right.
Oh,
Thanks,
it's his
Kate.
birthday today. It's his
Oh, it
birthday
is?
today. Yeah, it's his birthday today.
Happy birthday, Brian Moylan. Everybody reach out
Happy
to him
birthday, Brian.
at Brian J. Moylan. Okay, bye.
Bye.